The Call of Duty franchise spawns what is soon to be 19 mainline entries. 4 of those mainline entries are set in the futuristic setting, and those entries are Advanced Warfare, Black Ops 3, Black Ops 4, Infinite Warfare. Now, the reason I mention this is because I think it's time for Call of Duty to return to the futuristic setting. Now, I know this is a hot take. I know many people will disagree with this. But the reality of it is, first and foremost, when it comes to the campaigns, Infinite Warfare and Advanced Warfare had some of the best campaigns in all of the Call of Duty. Plain and simple. Secondly, the reason I mention this is because there is still a fan base behind futuristic setting Call of Duties. The thing is, when I went and played Advanced Warfare, that is an 8-year-old game. It was released in 2014 on PlayStation at 2 in the afternoon on a weekday. I was still able to find matches. And then I went into the other games, Black Ops 3, Black Ops 4, Infinite Warfare. All of them I'm able to find matches, with Infinite Warfare having the shortest queue times of the crop. All of which was played on PlayStation, by the way. And it got me thinking, clearly there is an audience for this. Clearly there is a fan base for this, because these players that are playing these Call of Duties, if they didn't like it, they wouldn't be playing it. So clearly they like it if they're playing it, especially considering how old some of these games are. And one of the things that occurred to me is part of the reason why these futuristic Call of Duties got scrutinized the way they did is because they were in the future. Because they decided to be a little bold, a little brass, and decided to change the gameplay loop a little bit. And because of that, the dedicated players will sit there and say, well, that's not Call of Duty. That's not how Call of Duty plays. And we as a society just don't like change, and whenever that change happens, usually there is some form of backlash. So it's not surprising that futuristic Call of Duty's got this backlash. But the interesting note is, when the people I talk to when it comes to these games, is that if you look at Infinite Warfare, a lot of people who play it will say, yeah, it's a great game. It's just not a Call of Duty game. Essentially saying that if they didn't call it Call of Duty, people wouldn't have an issue with it. But because it was a Call of Duty, people complain. What people need to realize is that the Call of Duty franchise, as a franchise, has 3 separate fan bases. Some of which prefer the past, the World War II era. Some of which prefer the futuristic setting. And obviously, majority of people prefer the modern day setting, as considering how the sales numbers play out. But that being said, I find that part of the reason why Call of Duty's gotten stale is because they got away from the futuristic setting. Because when you make a game based in World War II, people want that authenticity, which therefore restricts what you can have in it. Likewise, when you do present day, it's the same thing. People want present day stuff, you are restricted. But when you go into the future, and you go, let's just say hypothetically, like 100 years in the future, you are not restricted. You have now essentially free reign to say, hey, we can have this, we can have that. And it allows the game to add new elements to the gameplay that otherwise couldn't be done. To put this into perspective, play Modern Warfare 2019, then go play Call of Duty Vanguard. They play very similarly. You can tell me you don't like the map design, you can tell me you don't like the era, that's fine. But the experience is the same. They both use the gunsmith, they both use the same engine. It's just a setting preference at that point. And whatever the campaign, how that campaign plays out. But aside from that, from a core gameplay perspective, it's the same game, just in a different era. The luxury of the futuristic setting is you can play with that. You can make different changes. Now, of the 4 Call of Duties, I will say Advanced Warfare's multiplayer, obviously it's the most dated as it's the oldest, but I also felt that the boost jumping felt out of place considering that you couldn't wall run. It made the boost jumping felt a little clunky. Whereas when you play Black Ops 3 and Infinite Warfare, it's much more smoother experience and it seems to fit. But the point is yes, I think Call of Duty should go back to the future. Considering that this year's Call of Duty is Modern Warfare 2, considering that next year it's already been confirmed there will be no Call of Duty. For the first time in however many years, we will not have a new Call of Duty release for the holidays next year. So assuming, let's just go hypothetically, you say, well, 2024 is going to have a futuristic Call of Duty. Well, that's 6 years from the last one being Black Ops 4. And that's assuming they even do that. What I hope happens when Microsoft takes over, if and when, is that you would have 3 separate Call of Duty games. I've been saying this for years. 3 separate ones. All of them ran simultaneously, all of them ongoing. And that you would have one in the past, one in the present, one in the future, to appease to all the fan bases, because each one has their own. What frustrates me is I look at Modern Warfare 2, and yes, I'm excited for Modern Warfare 2, but it's like, well, you know, some people with the holiday season and other games and whatnot, they may not jump on that Modern Warfare 2 right away. And now it's like, well, you're playing Modern Warfare 1, I'm playing Modern Warfare 2. It's the same era. Modern Warfare 2 is basically a glorified expansion, no different than an EA Sports game. And yet we can't play together. We can't play on the same maps. And it's very irritating. And as a consumer, it's also irritating if you have to actually purchase a Call of Duty every year. Yes, we expect that they will come to Game Pass once the transaction is complete, but that's besides the point. How much better would it be if you had a Call of Duty, whichever era you preferred, and you were getting updated maps, updated weapons, new cosmetics, new seasons, etc., and it was ongoing? To put this into perspective, Rainbow Six Siege hasn't had a sequel. It's in year 7 of its life cycle. Year 7, and still going. Players, the new era of multiplayer games is to not release them consistently. Is to have one game and consistently support it. Because players, they don't want to spend hours upon hours unlocking all this stuff. Then a new game comes out and then you lose what you unlocked. Kind of feels like a waste a little bit. And if you want to add campaign, you can easily throw in like a $30 campaign expansion. X years later, 2-3 years later, hey look, we got a new campaign for the World War II setting. Here, pay $30 and you get access and you get a nice 10-hour campaign to play again, a new one, while adding new maps and weapons to that era of Call of Duty. I think a lot of people would be happy with that. Because I find that Call of Duty is in a no-win scenario right now. Where no matter which Call of Duty, like Modern Warfare 2 is going to sell like hotcakes. I'm buying it. It's going to sell like hotcakes, plain and simple. But there's going to be some people that are always going to complain about it, plain and simple. But the point is when I go back, and at least on PlayStation, these 4 futuristic Call of Duties, 2 of the 4 feature some of the best campaigns ever produced in a Call of Duty. Hell, Kevin Spacey's in one of them. And despite that, people are still playing. Despite the fact that Advanced Warfare came out in 2014, people are still playing. People, for all the scrutiny that Infinite Warfare got, it has the shortest queue times. People are playing. So there is clearly an audience. There's clearly a fan base. People who enjoy Call of Duty that like something different. See, I was going through all 4 of these games one after the other, playing, 2 hours of Advanced Warfare, then 2 hours of Black Ops 3, and then 2 hours of Infinite Warfare, all within quick succession of one another. So I really got to see the differences between the 4 games. And yes, futuristic Call of Duties do have their place. Now, it needs to be said, the present day stuff will always sell the most. Period. And that's for obvious reasons. Modern Warfare 2019 sold 30 million copies. Now, I think that's also in part because it ran on a new engine and it had great gunplay and audio. But besides the point, it still sold 30 million copies for a reason. It's not a fluke that it sold that. The present day stuff will always be king. But I feel like Call of Duty is at a point where it's in a fight with itself. As you now have different audiences. Much in the same way how you have a Forza Horizon 5 and a Forza Motorsports 7, or whatever it is it's called. Right? You have 2 Forza games. One open world set for more casual. One is a circuit racer, more for realistic. You're appealing to 2 different audiences within the same franchise. Call of Duty has 3 different audiences within the same franchise. And I feel that if you want to do right by the consumer, and Microsoft is all about doing consumer-friendly practices these days, Why not have 3 different Call of Duty games running simultaneously with one set in each era? Everybody's happy. Everybody's got what they want. So long as you have 3 separate dev teams so that, one development team doesn't impact the other game, one game gets lagged behind. And you will have people who are happy. And considering that, like I said, in 2024, which will be the next Call of Duty after Modern Warfare this year, you're talking at least 6 years from a futuristic setting. Assuming that one is in the future. If not, it's even longer window. But I feel that over the years, Call of Duty, it has gotten stale. Everyone that I talk to, everyone that I play with, a new Call of Duty comes out. Maybe they reach max level for multiplayer, and then they walk away. And then they get bored. The era of just chasing prestiges for a lot of people has ran thin. Yes, there's still people who grind prestige and love Call of Duty and play it ridiculously. But the FPS market has gotten so saturated, while Call of Duty's gameplay loop has gotten so repetitive, that it kind of needs the futuristic setting to spice it up. To add a little bit of flavor to the experience. Because to me, when I play Modern Warfare 2019, when I play Modern Warfare this year, Modern Warfare 2, you're going to run into the same problem. It's going to look great, it's going to sound great, I'm going to like the campaign, but after, 10 hours, 15 hours, I'm going to be like, well, it's Call of Duty, been there, done that. And then I switch to a game like Infinite Warfare, and it feels so fresh. That doesn't mean Infinite Warfare is a better game. It just means it feels fresh. Because it's different. Because it has that little something different to the loop. It's not the same repetitive sequence over and over again. But that's just my opinion. And I know it's a hot take. And I know a lot of people are going to sit there and say, nah, screw the futuristic settings. That futuristic setting sucks. Man, every Call of Duty, there's haters everywhere for every single one of them. It never stops. And yet, every Call of Duty sells millions of copies. I think Vanguard, one of the lowest selling Call of Duty, still hit something like 6 million copies. Well, yeah, it's low for a Call of Duty game, considering Modern Warfare hit 30 million. But for a lot of developers, man, they would kill to have 6 million in sales. So to sit there and say that it's sold poorly for Call of Duty standards, not poorly for game development or the industry. It's 6 million units is a pretty good number. A lot of developers would love to have that. So to sit there and say, no, I disagree. Of the 4 futuristic Call of Duties, multiplayer-wise, I think Infinite Warfare is the best one. I still hold very high regard to Advanced Warfare's campaign, if that's one of my favorites. But overall, I think Infinite Warfare had the best multiplayer, and why people are still playing. Not only could you customize your weapons, you can customize perks for your score streaks, perks for the guns themselves. I mean, the customization in Infinite Warfare is some of the best in the franchise. Plain and simple. And the game just feels fresh every time I go back to play it. It feels fresh. I play it for a bit, then I go back to my modern setting. It always feels fresh. Maybe that's because I'm a fan of Titanfall and Titanfall hasn't been supported. But I digress. Call of Duty needs to go back to the future. It needs to spice up the flavor. There is fans who like the futuristic setting, much like how there's fans of the other eras. In my opinion, Call of Duty needs to run 3 franchises simultaneously. This is Veteran Gamer, and I hope to see you guys next time.